Unlocking trapped equity actually may have certain tax advantages. You borrow against the equity in a real estate property, it may not trigger capital gains taxes. So now all of a sudden you have access to capital that didn't trigger a taxable event, and you get to invest that capital that hasn't been taxed into other assets that can produce cash flow. Now we're talking. Again, is this without risk? No. But just 2 years ago, people had 2.5%, 3% mortgages on their home, and inflation was 8, 9, 10% a year. Some people were rushing to pay down their mortgage. For me, not giving financial advice, I would be in no hurry to utilize money to pay down an interest rate of 2, 3, 4%. I would take that capital and I would deploy that to invest because it's a lot easier to generate returns that are higher than 2, 3, 4%. Savings accounts, bonds, not that hard. So again, just a different way to think about what you may have been told. All debt's bad, pay it down very quickly. Why would you borrow against your home? Maybe there's a more nuanced perspective that we can have on this topic.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community. Hello, and welcome back to another episode with your host, myself, Amy Sylvis. I am the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital, if we haven't met before. And if we have, welcome back. It's great to see you. This podcast continues to grow, so I'm always making sure folks know who I am. And thank you again so much for sharing the podcast with other people in your network, in your community, because our goal really is to help Americans and people of the world understand how to live a more abundant life. And as you know, these solo episodes, we're excited to talk about the financial piece of abundance. As a review, we believe here on the podcast that actually money isn't abundance. Money is simply a vehicle to abundance. So how do we define abundance? Being able to do what we want, when we want, where we want, for however long we want, with who we want. I think I got all of those right this time. You guys will have to check me. But you get the idea, right? It's this freedom sense, the ability to contribute, to be able to build relationships and maintain relationships with people we care the most about, to be able to live wherever we want on this beautiful planet or vacation when we want, have control over our time, have abundance and overflow financially, so much so that we can give to our community and people in need. All of those things. And hands-off income specifically can be incredibly effective as a vehicle to get us there. So we like to have these solo episodes to talk more about how to achieve that. And as a reminder, what do we do at Sylvis Capital? We buy large commercial real estate, like apartment buildings in emerging markets throughout the United States, and connect people to those opportunities if they'd like to diversify their portfolio. So on that note, as you can imagine, I talk to thousands of people that are high net worth individuals, all the way to people who are just getting started with investing. And a theme that has come up quite a bit recently is this theme of trapped equity. And you may not have heard of this concept. Maybe your parents didn't teach you about it. Maybe your prestigious university didn't teach you about it, but we're going to talk to you about it today. It's a really, really powerful topic. Have you heard of it? Have you not? I'm really curious. I'm actually interested about who's really considered this topic or has heard about it. But the concept of trapped equity is really this idea that it is kind of an unused portion or value of an asset. So I think the easiest way for you to think about it might be, let's say you bought a home 20 years ago. The home has appreciated in value. Maybe you paid off your 30-year mortgage a little bit early, and all of a sudden you have a full bunch of equity or value that you haven't tapped into your home that could be utilized to do something else with it. So as we dive into this topic, whether it's new to you, whether you've heard it before, I really want to remind you, This is not financial advice. We give education here on the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We don't tell you what to do. We simply give you ideas. Maybe I share some of the things that I do, but all of it is just for your education and background information only. I'm not a financial advisor, so make sure you check with a financial advisor, tax professional, all the amazing people you have in your life that can give you that sort of financial advice. So where are some places where you might be able to find trapped equity? Yes, I think for a lot of people, it could be in their owner-occupied home. It could also be in a business or even stocks in a 401k or whatever you hold in your 401k or IRA where you can't access it. So the whole idea really is the fact that there is money, there is value, but it's not necessarily accessible to you unless you do something to access that equity. It's trapped there. So why might this matter? Well, gosh, I mean, we all have financial goals. If you're anything like me, you're always looking to grow your wealth, maybe not always for your personal benefit. Maybe you're looking to have legacy for your family, or you're looking to find ways to contribute to charities and causes that matter a lot more to you. Whatever the reason is, growing your wealth, growing your cash flow, growing your net worth can be a rewarding activity, obviously, and a vehicle towards an abundant life. But I have found that folks have trapped equity and don't even realize what this is, why that matters, and how they might be able to utilize it. So we're going to talk just briefly, and this will be a shorter episode, about what that can mean and why it matters. So the first thing that comes to mind when I hear trapped equity, regardless of where it is this idea of opportunity cost. The fact that money trapped in an asset could potentially be used to generate income through other income producing assets. So imagine this scenario again with the house. Let's say you have a house, it has equity in it, even if it hasn't been paid off. Could that equity be utilized, be borrowed against, drawn down on, and then utilized to make another investment or to make an investment that generates cash flow? So if we think through, for example, again, not financial advice, just educating you all on scenarios that some people who are quite wealthy utilize. Let's say that interest rates are 5% on your home. That's not what they are right now, but we're just using an example. So your house is worth $1 million. It's completely paid off. There's no debt. And interest rates are at 5%. What if you could take a home equity line of credit, borrow some equity, not all of it, but some, let's just say $100,000 from the equity in your home, which is $1 million, and you're paying annually 5% on that. This is overly simplified. This is simple interest. We're making a lot of assumptions here, but it's for illustrative purposes. Illustrative. Okay. So you have to spend 5% a year to gain access to that $100,000. What if you could invest that $100,000 in something that makes 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% a year? All of a sudden you've got a delta there, right? You have a difference. You're spending 5% to make 8, 9, 10, 11, 12%. You're accessing that trapped equity that's doing nothing in the home and using it to generate income. Let's just say a few percentage points, could be more than what you're paying to access it. And all of a sudden you're ahead because you accessed that trapped equity, you invested it, and you created another stream of income. And that stream of income has a better return than the money just sitting in the home. Now, are there risks to that? Of course. All investing has risk. Nothing is, just quick and easy and all this. It's really important to think through because, hey, what if that investment doesn't go well? What if it ends up not making that return that you anticipated that it makes? And then, you have a mortgage to pay on the house, or you have interest to pay on the money that you borrowed in the house that you live in. And hopefully you have the ability to pay that if that new investment isn't making returns. So is there risk? Yes. Is there reward? Also, yes. Am I endorsing this strategy either way? No. But it is something to think about in terms of accessing trapped equity. It is this opportunity cost. And velocity of money, meaning making sure money doesn't just sit stagnant in something like the value of a home. Velocity of money, velocity of capital is something that the wealthy use to grow their income. Okay, so opportunity cost is one reason why you might be interested in trapped equity. The second is inflation erosion. So trapped equity can erode due to inflation. It may appear that your asset is increasing in value, in this example, your home, but if that increase in value is lower than inflation, you're losing money. You're actually losing some of that trapped equity. So again, we talk quite a bit about the official stated rate of inflation, and we talk about alternative measurements of inflation like we see in shadow stats, where, let's be honest, the government has a incentive to understate inflation in the United States. I'm not saying that they do, but gosh, do they have a nice incentive. They don't have to pay as high of a, what do we call it? A cost of living increase in entitlements like Social Security. So they save a lot of money by understating inflation. But all that aside, I'll take off my tinfoil hat. But this inflation erosion is very real. Let's say the trapped equity in your house is growing at a lower rate than inflation. It seems nominally, that's the term that we use when we don't take inflation into account, that you're getting ahead and woohoo, party's on. But then we take inflation into account and we understand the real rate, the real amount that the property is losing equity, or maybe not gaining equity as fast as we thought in nominal terms, but now we're talking real terms. And inflation's eroding that. So getting access to that trapped equity and making that trapped equity grow, at the very least to increase with inflation, to keep up with inflation, again, another tactic and strategy of the wealthy. Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. We'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. Okay, so a final way that you maybe should care about trapped equity, or why this might matter to you, is unlocking trapped equity actually may have certain tax advantages. You borrow against the equity in a real estate property, it may not trigger capital gains taxes. Check with your CPA or tax professional. Not advice here, but something to consider. So now all of a sudden you have access to capital that didn't trigger a taxable event, and you get to invest that capital that hasn't been taxed into other assets that can produce cash flow. Now we're talking. Again, is this without risk? No. Am I telling you to do this? No. I'm really going to hammer hard at this. But trapped equity is a real thing. I think there are definitely people who have parents who grew up in an era of interest rates on debt, especially for single family homes, were 17, 18, 19%. Inflation was 2%. Pay down that home. That makes sense, right? You want to pay down the debt on that mortgage as soon as possible, because my goodness, the difference between inflation and the mortgage rate was huge. It makes sense. But if we think about just 2 years ago, when people had 2.5%, 3% mortgages on their home, and inflation was 8, 9, 10% a year, some people were rushing to pay down their mortgage of 2.5%, 3%, 4%. Some people still are. For me, not giving financial advice, I would be in no hurry to utilize money to pay down an interest rate of 2, 3, 4%. I would take that capital and I would deploy that to invest because it's a lot easier to generate returns that are higher than 2, 3, 4%. Savings accounts, bonds, not that hard. So again, just a different way to think about what you may have been told in kind of the general personal finance sphere of the average American. All debt's bad, pay it down very quickly. Why would you borrow against your home? Again, debt is bad no matter what. Maybe there's a more nuanced perspective that we can have on this topic. Maybe in some circumstances for people that are educated, they understand the risks. The investments have a lower amount of risk. Maybe there can be ways for us to grow our net worth, for us to grow our cash flow at an accelerated rate if we think about investing from a trapped equity type lens. Is that interesting? Does that make sense to you? I think this concept is fascinating. And again, this may not apply to your personal circumstance, but you are better off for understanding all of the tools in your tool belt from a personal finance perspective. Think of a tool belt. My dad does construction. He doesn't use every tool all the time, right? For whatever job he's doing. Absolutely not. But he does know the tools that are in his tool belt and how to apply them when needed. Imagine if he was at a job site and didn't even know the tools in his tool belt. How would he be able to utilize them if they didn't even know they were there? I think of topics like trapped equity the same way. Accessing trapped equity, whether it's in your retirement account, a business, a home, even a commercial real estate investment, is a tool in your tool belt. And if you understand how it can be utilized, how risk can be mitigated, what its benefits are, then when the circumstance arises, you can say, hey, I know I have this tool in my tool belt. Where should I use it? Should I use it? You can't even have those discussions if you don't even know that sucker's there. So I hope that makes sense. My goal here is really to give you ideas as I talk. Again, as I said, I talk to so many wealthy, highly successful people, and this type of stuff isn't taught in the education system. Many of us don't hear about it from our families. So if we want different results than what our families have, than what we have right now, exploring new ideas, understanding them from a 360-degree view, not just a black and white, debt's always bad, paying off debt, no matter what kind of debt it is good. Having a more nuanced perspective on debt and how we can increase velocity of capital can be really helpful. Okay, this was a really short episode today. I wanted to get in, get out, teach you all this concept that I think is valuable. But before we say goodbye for this episode, I would like to ask you to share this episode with one person in your network that you think could benefit from this. It takes a lot of love and time to create these podcasts. And my goodness, we are just so thrilled with how we are growing. And we're very grateful for how you're helping us to contribute to that growth. So share on social media, click the share button real quick, text it over to a friend or family member and tell them to subscribe. Thank you all. Have an amazing holiday season and looking forward to continuing to talk to you about abundance. Talk to y'all soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.